Nobody wants to lose their memory. It's like losing yourself. It's terrifying to think that one day you might wake up and not recognize yourself or your loved ones. This could become a reality for any of us, as there is no cure or method to treat acquired dementia. The only way to preserve your memory is to stop the disease in its early stages. And for this, you need to catch dementia at the very beginning. How can this be done? What signals the onset of dementia? And what can you do today to ensure you don't lose your memory tomorrow? All this and more will be discussed in our video. How can you distinguish normal aging from the early signs of dementia? What kind of laughter might indicate brain issues? What habits help maintain mental clarity? What should you feed your brain to keep its cells alive? How can you keep your brain in good shape every day? Which popular memory supplement for seniors increases the risk of brain hemorrhage? And what behavioral changes suggest the onset of dementia? According to statistics, 75% of elderly people in Russia suffer from forgetfulness. This means that in about 2 years, half of us may forget our names and fail to understand what's happening around us. What can stop this? I'll tell you about it, and our channel expert will explain how to differentiate normal forgetfulness after 50 from the forgetfulness caused by dementia. Let's start with a question you've asked us. Is dementia the same as Alzheimer's? The answer is both yes and no. Let's clarify. Alzheimer's is an irreversible disease. Dementia, on the other hand, is not a disease, but a symptom, which manifests as memory, thinking, and behavioral impairments. Just like pain signals illness, dementia signals brain issues, including Alzheimer's disease. In other words, Alzheimer's is always dementia, but dementia is not always Alzheimer's. It's important to understand that Alzheimer's is a hereditary disease. If someone in your family has been diagnosed with it, your risk of developing it is high. However, dementia is an acquired memory problem, and here, much depends on us. Imagine your brain as a giant library. It holds your memories, thoughts, knowledge, and even pie recipes. Now imagine that someone has messed up the library. Books are out of place, some have disappeared, and others are so damaged that they're unreadable. Dementia is something like that. Most often, we associate it with old age, but it begins manifesting long before a person loses their memory. Can't remember what you had for breakfast? Called your son by your husband's name? Forgot why you opened the fridge? Well, it happens to everyone. Many ignore the first signs, and then it's too late. So let's figure out what happens to the brain during dementia and how to recognize it in time. Why do we forget things in the first place? Look, memory fades when neurons, cells that transmit information, die or are damaged. Like tiny wires, they send signals to each other. When we learn something new or recall something, neurons talk to each other, forming connections, pathways for this information. But when neurons die, these pathways collapse, and the information is erased, like a pencil mark rubbed out with an eraser. In a person with dementia, the death of one neuron leads to the death of its neighbors. A chain reaction begins, and the area with dead cells grows like an oil spill. This destruction continues for years until the person completely loses their sense of self. Among people aged 60 to 65, 5 out of 100 suffer from dementia, but after 75, it's already 20 out of 100, every fifth person. And it all can start with something as simple as, why did I open the fridge? But don't panic just yet. Forgetfulness in old age is a natural, gradual process of memory loss. It begins around the age of 50 to 55, or even earlier. Some people forget whether they locked the door when leaving home. Others can't remember if they turned off the iron. It's hard to memorize a phone number or a shopping list when heading to the store. During a conversation, someone might forget certain words. Does this happen to you often? Write about it in the comments. Sometimes it feels like the word is on the tip of your tongue, but you just can't recall it. One big brain fog. Well, this is not dementia yet. And you'll be surprised, but dementia can be confused with another illness. Which one? Let's ask the expert. Today we're joined by the remarkable neurologist and dementia specialist, Golnaz Nailovna Tayupova. Unfortunately, this does happen. For example, someone leaves home, gets lost, and is found on the other side of the city. In such a situation, they are taken to the hospital, And because of their memory loss, disorientation, and inability to remember their name, they're given the preliminary diagnosis of a stroke. They continue to be treated for a stroke, even though there may not have been one. Meanwhile, the primary condition goes unnoticed. This is rare, but I have encountered such cases. So, we've established that occasional forgetfulness doesn't count. If you can't remember where you left your house keys or your gloves, that's normal. It could be better, but it's not dementia. But what if you've noticed memory or behavioral issues that worry you? Which doctor should you see? Many clinics now have geriatricians. They specialize in treating elderly patients. When they observe memory decline, they refer patients to dementologists, specialists who focus specifically on cognitive function impairment. How can you find a good specialist, Golnaz Nailovna? Any advice? Pay attention to whether the doctor is improving their qualifications and whether they have certificates to confirm it. Additionally, a good specialist will be recommended by people they've already helped. You can look for their reviews on specialized websites. How do you find doctors? Through word of mouth, or do you trust the first specialist you meet? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like our video. Many people who didn't previously complain about forgetfulness noticed their memory crumbled like a puzzle after having COVID-19. COVID has negatively impacted the memory of many, and here's why. First, the illness itself, as some specialists believe, caused inflammation in the brain, disrupting its function, which affected memory. Second, the stress and anxiety caused by the pandemic also played a role. When we're stressed, our brain doesn't function as efficiently. Yes, COVID affected memory for many people. Inflammation and stress are no joke. However, such forgetfulness happens to everyone, even without an illness. It could simply be fatigue or lack of sleep. But if you can't remember the word key, and instead say that thing that opens the door, or if you constantly mix up loved ones' names or forget why you were going to the store, that's a warning sign. Recognizing the early signs is crucial for treating dementia. Here they are. Memory problems. If you remember what happened 20 years ago, but forget what you had for breakfast. Difficulty planning. For example, struggling to follow a cooking recipe. Trouble completing familiar tasks, forgetting the way home, even though you've walked it for years. Confusion about time, not knowing the current day or season. Reading or writing becomes harder. Forgetting simple words or using them incorrectly. Losing items or placing them in unusual spots, like putting shoes in the refrigerator. Speaking of losing things, many people forget where they just placed their glasses, for example. Could this be dementia? If you forgot where you placed your glasses but remembered later, that's not dementia. Let me explain why. For example, imagine you're working on a computer. If you have several windows open, you won't get to the one you need until you close some of the others. The same thing happens in your brain. When you have dominant issues on your mind, your brain prioritizes solving them first, and only then gets to the point where the window with the forgotten answer opens. Back to the symptoms. With dementia, mood changes also occur. Unusual irritability, suspicion, and fear appear. And here's a recently discovered sign. Laughing without reason. If someone laughs when others don't find it funny, like during tragic events, they may already be on the path to dementia. So, did you recognize yourself? Is there something similar happening to your loved ones? Start taking action. Your brain needs exercise. Mental training exercises are a lifeline for the brain drowning in forgetfulness. Over 20 years, scientists observed 300 people and discovered that those who read a lot and engaged in mental activities lost memory 32% more slowly. Those who weren't active experienced faster dementia progression. To reduce the risk of dementia or slow its development in its early stages, we recommend regular brain exercises. The first exercise is mirror writing. Try writing words and phrases with both hands at the same time, mirror style. One hand writes as usual from left to right, while the other writes from right to left. This seemingly difficult exercise stimulates both brain hemispheres. It's only hard at first, so start with simple words, gradually moving to more complex ones. The second exercise is mental math. Try solving simple math problems in your head. Add and subtract double-digit numbers. Avoid using a calculator when you need to calculate something, like a discount or change in a store. Gradually move to more complex problems. Divide and multiply in your head. Relearn the multiplication table if you've forgotten it. The third exercise is switching hands. This helps your brain create new neural connections because you're literally pushing it out of its comfort zone and forcing it to stop working on autopilot. Here's how. Do daily tasks with the opposite hand. If you're right-handed, brush your teeth or comb your hair with your left hand. Try opening doors or holding a fork with your left hand. Yes, at first your brain and body will resist. It will feel inconvenient or time-consuming. But this is time well spent in the fight against dementia. Start with simple tasks and move to more complex ones. You can do it. And one more exercise that literally programs your brain to never forget anything. I'll talk about it at the end of the video. If you know and practice other brain training methods, share them in the comments. If you forget, you'll have a place to look them up later. On a serious note, experts recommend doing brain exercises every day. But wait, isn't it better to save your brain and not overwork it? I've read that excessive wear and tear on nerve cells is one of the causes of dementia. How can we understand this? And what wears out our nerve cells? Here's the thing. Dementia partly arises because our brain can't rid itself of harmful substances. These accumulate in different areas and cause various impairments. What can we do? Take action. Literally. Want to preserve your memory? Move more. Wait, does movement really affect the brain? When we talk about diabetes, joint health, blood vessels, or other chronic conditions, it makes sense. Movement improves blood circulation, supports metabolism, and helps maintain optimal weight. But how, for instance, does daily walking impact memory? What does the brain have to do with legs, as they say? Let's figure this out. But first, tell us, what do you know about molecules of hope? The thing is, when we move, blood flows more actively through the body, delivering more oxygen and nutrients to the brain. This helps us think better, remember information, and stay focused. But that's not the main thing. In the early 2000s, scientists discovered that every time our muscles contract, they produce special proteins called molecules of hope. These molecules of hope protect the brain from aging, enhance mental activity, and improve memory. So by moving your legs, you're helping your brain. Studies show that molecules of hope reduce the risk of dementia because they help new brain cells form, improve connections between neurons, and protect them from damage. In addition, molecules of hope help reduce inflammation in the brain, which is also crucial for preventing various diseases. Do you know why they're called molecules of hope? Because they reduce the risk of various diseases and extend our lifespan. Want to stay fit, both physically and mentally? Move more. Move! After all, as Albert Einstein said, life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. Research shows that older adults who regularly exercise or stay active are less likely to face memory problems or other age-related brain diseases. Regular physical activity is incredibly beneficial for the mind. Every 30 minutes of moderate activity a day can significantly reduce the risk of developing dementia. What else can you do to keep dementia at bay? Change your lifestyle. We can't eliminate chronic diseases or get rid of diabetes at will. But lifestyle is entirely in your hands. Start by changing your dietary habits. I understand that just thinking about proper nutrition might ruin your mood. And trust me, you're not alone. But here's the choice. Either eat whatever you want and help your brain cells age and die, or slightly, just a little, adjust your eating habits and stay sharp in old age. For normal brain function and dementia prevention, limit the consumption of fatty foods, carbohydrates, and alcohol. Include sufficient sources of B vitamins, vitamin D, and tryptophan in your diet. Tryptophan is an amino acid that helps produce serotonin, known as the happiness hormone, and also reduces inflammation in the brain. Tryptophan isn't produced by the human body, so it must come from food. It's found in turkey, red meat, fish, cheese, nuts, seeds, and legumes. For brain health, it's also important to drink enough water. Most importantly, eliminate harmful trans fats from your diet, which come from snacks, factory-made treats, and fried foods. If you see partially hydrogenated oil on the label, just don't buy that product. Now let's talk about what to feed your brain to help you remember everything. That's vitamin B12, the memory rescuer. It plays a crucial role in maintaining brain health by helping to form the protective sheath around nerve cells. Furthermore, vitamin B12 helps regulate levels of a brain destroyer, homocysteine. When there's too much of it, it becomes toxic to neurons, leading to their damage or death. Moreover, the brain destroyer negatively impacts neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to adapt in response to experience. If neuroplasticity decreases, it becomes harder and harder to remember things. Vitamin B12 helps maintain brain health by preventing the buildup of this harmful substance. I'll just say that a large amount of the memory rescuer is found in liver, but you can also get vitamin B12 from dietary supplements or multivitamins. Perhaps you're already taking vitamins that contain B12. Write in the comments right now, do you trust supplements or not? Do you take them, or do you consider them unnecessary chemicals? By the way, when choosing vitamin complexes, opt for those that don't contain iron. Supplements with iron should only be taken as prescribed by a doctor. In general, I would recommend getting a blood test to determine your B12 levels, so you can know for sure whether you have any issues. Another important point, as we age, the memory rescuer becomes harder for the body to absorb. Alcohol or chronic diseases can also interfere with its absorption. Right now, our expert will tell you what you can do today to avoid dementia tomorrow. First and foremost is physical aerobic exercise. Second is sleep, which should be at least 7 hours, and ideally on your right side. Sleeping on the right side allows the lymphatic system to function optimally, helping to flush out substances that accumulate in the brain and could lead to memory decline. Third is diet. Ideally, a marine-based diet rich in omega-3 and omega-6 amino acids, as well as vitamin D. Additionally, seniors should stay socially active and avoid sitting still. Social interaction helps prevent memory decline in the future. Remember, sleep only on your right side. But what else can you do to help your brain? Let's talk about folk remedies for dementia, starting with a rose hip and hawthorn decoction. Take dried rose hips and hawthorn berries. If they're whole, crush them slightly. Use a rolling pin or a mortar and pestle. Pour 1 liter of water into a saucepan and bring it to a boil. Once the water boils, add the crushed berries. Reduce the heat to low and simmer the decoction gently for 15 minutes. This will help extract all the beneficial substances from the berries. Remove from heat and let it infuse for at least 4 hours. Strain, and that's it. It's ready to drink. We recommend half a glass, 2 to 3 times a day before meals. The next remedy is one I personally use regularly, a nut mix for the brain. Take 1 cup each of walnuts, almonds, and hazelnuts. If you'd like, you can lightly roast them in a dry pan for added aroma. Then, chop the nuts. You can use a blender, meat grinder, or simply put them in a bag and crush them with a rolling pin. The nuts should be finely chopped, but not powdered. Add 3 to 4 tablespoons of raisins and 1 to 2 tablespoons of honey, depending on your taste. Mix everything thoroughly so the honey is evenly distributed. Your quick brain booster is ready. Consume 1 tablespoon a day after meals as a treat. It's an excellent way to support your brain and prevent dementia. What do pharmacies offer for dementia? Do you know the most popular remedy? Ginkgo biloba. Interestingly, it's also dangerous for seniors. Let me explain. What is Ginkgo biloba really? Ginkgo biloba is an ancient tree that has been around for millions of years and is considered a living fossil. In traditional Chinese medicine, ginkgo leaves and fruits were used to treat various ailments. Western medicine began studying this plant in the late 1950s. Clinical trials were conducted, and the effects were surprising. It turned out the Chinese weren't wrong to use it. In China, it's believed that ginkgo leaves can improve memory and concentration. They say just 1 tablespoon in boiling water can make your brain work like clockwork. But is that true? Let's ask our expert. According to its instructions, Ginkgo biloba is an herbal remedy designed to improve cerebral blood flow. It is not used as a primary treatment for dementia, but it can be utilized as a supplementary therapy. As a standalone remedy, Ginkgo biloba can be helpful when a patient experiences reduced concentration. This is not the same as memory impairment, It's the kind of situation where someone forgets where they placed their glasses, but remembers later. Do you agree with the expert's opinion? Share your thoughts about Ginkgo biloba in the comments, and feel free to ask questions about dementia. Our expert will do their best to answer. Let me share what else we've learned about ginkgo. This plant does indeed contain antioxidants and substances that improve blood circulation, especially in the brain. Good blood circulation reduces the risk of age-related diseases, including dementia. Research shows that Ginkgo biloba extracts improve memory and attention while supporting overall mental health. If you're firmly against any supplements, I found a solution for you too. You can buy Ginkgo biloba leaves at the pharmacy and make your own infusion. Take 1 tablespoon of dried Ginkgo biloba leaves and place them in a cup or small saucepan. Pour a glass of boiling water over the leaves. It's crucial that the water is boiling to make the infusion richer. Cover the cup with a saucer or lid and let it steep for 20 minutes. This allows the leaves to release their beneficial properties. After 20 minutes, strain the infusion through a fine sieve or cheesecloth. The finished infusion can be consumed at a 1/4 cup 3 times a day, 30 minutes before meals, to improve memory and concentration. Now, pay attention. This is important. Dementia isn't the only threat to our health as we age. In recent years, scientists have noticed that physical health problems can arise much earlier than we expect. Musculoskeletal issues can limit physical activity, which in turn affects brain activity and may increase the risk of developing dementia in the future. Treating dementia often feels like walking on thin ice. If you miss a crack, a symptom of dementia, you could fall into a serious problem. So what can you do? How can you help yourself or your loved ones if dementia has been diagnosed? Our expert has some valuable advice. Unfortunately, if a dementia diagnosis has been made, it is impossible to make the patient completely healthy. However, further memory deterioration can be prevented. Timely treatment gives people many valuable hours to communicate with their patients while they are still in a sound state of mind. They know their names, their age, who they are talking to, and can independently go to the store and prepare food. This is very important for them. Therefore, a timely diagnosis always improves the quality of life. Don't hesitate to seek help if you notice signs of dementia in yourself or your loved ones. Early detection and treatment can significantly improve quality of life. Take care of yourself and those close to you. And today, try this brain exercise. Mind map. Close your eyes and imagine walking from your home to the nearest store. Recall all the turns, buildings, and other landmarks. Then, try drawing this route on paper. Visualize places you visited on vacation, the way to a friend's house, or the route to the clinic. Recall every detail, and make sure to draw the routes on paper. Solve crosswords, learn foreign languages, play board games. Try to learn something new every day. True, you can't escape Alzheimer's disease, which, as I remind you, is genetic, but you can definitely fight off age-related dementia. This is Fyodor Uglov, a true legend in the world of medicine. He passed away at the age of 104, but remained active until the very end. Imagine he performed this last surgery just 1 day before his 100th birthday. Thanks to this, he was listed in the Guinness World Records as the longest practicing surgeon on the planet. And this is Alexandra Pakhmatova. She's nearing 95, yet she continues composing music, playing the piano, and leading an active life. Dementia? No, that's not about her. After all, how can dementia develop when the brain is actively working? If you don't use it, it ages. Think about it. When was the last time you did mental math or memorized a poem? Remember, no one will train your brain for you. No doctor or healer will come to free you from dementia. You can only rely on yourself. So give yourself the chance to live an active and mindful old age, fully present and with a sharp mind. We sincerely wish this for you. That's all for now. Subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss new episodes.